Hi, Travis.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Fine.
I am so tired of this weather. It was 80 degrees Tuesday, and now it's freezing outside this morning. I had to get my winter coat out. I put on gloves.
But the sun is shining.
You're one of those.
Beautiful.
You're one of those
It's
people, aren't
terrific.
you? The
It's
sun's shining. Nah.
That's right.
I'm so tired of the weather. Sir, do you want to move somewhere else?
No.
You sure? You don't mind him? Everybody's laughing. Mike, you know what? One of these days, I think Ohio State might become a basketball school.
Okay.
But they've been awful this year. I mean, they started out really good, but towards the end, they just bombed in the Big Ten.
Okay.
Who cares if they make the tournament? I mean, honestly, who cares? Football season's only 24 weeks away. I mean, who? Ronnie? You're just waiting for me to get to you, aren't you? So that Jason guy, you know, that did the communion meditation, what is up with that beard? I mean, seriously, is he storing stuff in there for lunch later? Shave that thing off. It's obnoxious. It's absolutely obnoxious. Goodness. Dennis is hiding. Dennis? I sure wish you would have sang this morning.
No, you don't.
Lance, that guy. Wow. Why didn't he sing more songs? I can't figure it out. What is up with this place? Awkward silence. And then John, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, we have to listen to Cory again?
I kind of am thinking that a little bit.
2 Sundays in a row?
It sucks, man.
Jeff and Jason taking it easy. What do we pay them for?
I don't know.
Man. Are you a complainer? Are you? I can complain with the best of them. So right now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, okay, I hope so-and-so's here to hear this sermon. So shut that down. Okay, this is for you. This is what I call an introspective sermon. We're going to think about ourselves and where we are in complaining. And I've told you before when I preach, sometimes I get these great grand ideas when I'm thinking about what direction I want to go or what the theme's going to be or whatever. And then I sit down and I start working on it. And I get mad. I get angry because God's talking to me the whole time I'm preparing my sermon. And by the time I get up here, I feel awful because I'm like, what I'm preaching about is something I struggle with, which is complaining. I thought this is going to be awesome. This is going to be great to go this direction. And this morning I was looking over my notes and I'm like, why are you preaching on this? So I had a situation this week, and I wish I could go into great detail. However, we now videotape and post our sermons online, right? So I don't want the people that I was upset with to Google Cory Campbell and come across me complaining about them. So I'm going to tell you the story without giving you names and assure you it has nothing to do with Crossroads, nothing to do with Licking Memorial. So I've done my little disclaimer. But I had a situation happen to me this week that I was trying to be proactive. I sent an email to somebody wanting them to know where I am in life and what I'm dealing with, and I had a request for them. So I was expecting an email back. That's what happens when you expect people to be normal people. I did not get a response. Instead, I got an email from somebody else that's connected to both of us. So he forwarded this email to somebody else, and that guy passes on the information to me. Well, now I'm hot because the first guy didn't respond to me. So I went through anger, hurt, frustration, and complaining. My poor wife heard about it. My dad heard about it. A couple of my close friends heard about it. I was off the wall mad. And I kept telling him, it's not because of the information I eventually got, it's because that guy never emailed me back. To make it worse, I finally got an email from him later in the week, after I knew some decisions had been made, and then he lied to me. Ugh, I hate being lied to, because I had more information than he knew I had. Liar. So now it's Sunday. This happened on Tuesday or Wednesday. I can still get riled up about it really fast. And now I'm complaining to you guys about it, which isn't right. It's not the God thing to do. I should move on. I should get over it. But I just want to take my ball and I want to go home. I'm not going to play. I'm going to take my ball and go home. So this is our new series. Is the slide up there? I love Jesus, but I complain a little. No, that's not the whole series. That's just today. But we're going to, over the next few weeks, fill in the blank. I love Jesus, but I do something a little. And it's one of those things that we often minimize. And we've got some great topics coming up, things that we often minimize. However, they're very practical things and things that we need to think about each and every week. So like I said, I chose complain. I thought this is going to be awesome for our series. I chose it a couple weeks ago, and then this week happened, and I'm like, why me, God? Why me? So we're going to spend some time here. Have you ever had one of those conversations with somebody that you've either tried to invite to church, or you've talked to them and they've been hurt by a church, or they have family in the church or friends in the church, and their immediate responses to you is, I'm not going to go to church. It's full of hypocrites. Come on down and join us. What's one more? I mean, honestly, I'm a hypocrite. I will tell you one thing and I'll turn around and do something else. You know what I wanted to do this week? Remember what I talked about last week? About how easy it is to go out on Facebook or Twitter and just air how mad you are, and you don't have to look at the comments or respond. I wanted to type something up to this guy and put it out there. And I thought, no, Cory, you just preached about that. Okay, Lord, thank you. People think that we're instantly fixed the moment we decide to follow Jesus. No, are there some things that are fixed? Yeah, the first thing that's fixed is we're forgiven. All that stuff behind us, he's taken that away. All the stuff ahead of us, he's taken it away. However, we're human and we mess up and we screw up. And you know what? It could be 5 minutes after you say, Jesus, I'm going to follow you. I'm not going to mess up this time. And then you do it again. But his grace and mercy is so much bigger than that. But people struggle with us because they don't always understand that we're in the middle of this journey. We're all walking on it at the same time. We're working on ourselves with God's help. He's trying to form us into who he wants us to be. He's working on your heart each and every day. And I'll be the first to admit I don't always do the things I should do the way I should do them. Complaining is nothing new. No, I don't want you to think you're not allowed to express your discontent. You're allowed to do that. But it's all in about how you do it. The attitude behind it, the reasoning behind it. I got in trouble, I don't know, a month ago. And when I say in trouble, it's kind of like I said more than I should have. For those of you that are here that don't know me outside of here, I'm a chaplain at Licking Memorial. Don't hold that against the hospital, okay? And I'm on call a couple nights a week. So usually it's Wednesday and Thursdays. So the time I leave at 4:30, I'm on call till the next morning at 8 o'clock. Which sometimes I never get called, but sometimes it can be the busiest and worst time. And usually by Wednesday night and Thursday, I'm done for the week. And there was this string of Thursdays. There were 4 Thursdays in a row that I got called back into the hospital. So the first one, I'm like, okay, yeah, ha, blah, go and do my job, come home. The second one I got called, and I looked at Farrah, and I'm like, I just got called in. I don't want to go back to work. but I have to. I mean, it's what I do. So I went back to work. The third week, okay, God, this is funny. No plans on Thursday nights anymore. Ha ha. The fourth week, I got mad and angry. And I said, I'm not going to be on call on Thursdays anymore. Like God has cursed Thursdays. Like if I moved to a Tuesday, that was going to make it any better. But I'm like a little kid in the sandbox, pouting and throwing a fit. He took my shovel. And I realized how immature that was and how much I was questioning God and his using me. Because I don't know a lot of these people I go in for. I don't know what kind of impact I'm going to have on them. And he uses me in such a way that I get to be in these people's lives at the worst possible times. But that's when he uses me. But it's my attitude that has to be right. And we begin to question God and his provisions for our life when we complain. Maybe the situation he's putting us in or taking us from, he's using that to get to us. He's using that to get us where he wants us. I think maybe complaining is a problem with our perspective. So complaining has always been around. We can go all the way back in the garden. Remember those folks in the garden? Adam and Eve, living it up. All that food. Just stay away from that tree, guys, and it'll be okay. So they followed the rules. And then Eve decided to take the fruit of the tree. She had that little interaction with Satan, the serpent. Who eats the fruit next? Adam eats the fruit. And then God and him have a little conversation. And the conversation makes me laugh really hard. Because God starts talking to him, and Adam goes, yeah, God, I ate the fruit because you gave that to me. Yeah, her. Uh-huh. She's the reason I ate the fruit. If you hadn't I'm embellishing a little bit, but if you hadn't given her to me, I wouldn't have eaten the fruit. Women. What are you going to do? All the way back there, it existed. We move forward a little bit. Remember, the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt for a little over 400 years, and finally, God sends Moses in. Moses is reluctant, but he goes in. He leads them out. They get out into the wilderness, and they mess up and end up having to wander for 40 years. Do you remember them grumbling and complaining? Oh, my goodness. It would be so much better to go back to Egypt. Why are we out here? We're just wandering the desert. God's feeding us every day. Well, he won't let us keep more, like leftovers or stuff. We're not allowed to do that. I wish we could go back to Egypt. At least there we had 3 square meals a day and a roof over our heads, and we didn't get these blisters on our feet and have to wander around the desert in the heat all day long. Do they not remember they were in slavery in Egypt and how awful it was? But they kept grumbling and whining. And it doesn't go away there in the book of Psalms. Psalm 2:1, the psalmist says, why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? 22:1, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? It continues to show up. So we're not any different than the people that have come before us. They had the same struggle we have. But I think at the worst, when we complain, we're essentially saying that we don't like what God's going to do or allow in our lives. Now think about that for a minute. When we complain, we're basically questioning how God wants to use us. That hurts. Because after all, I know what's best for me. Just ask me sometime. I'll tell you. When we complain, we're focused on the wrong things usually. James 4:1-2. And I apologize that there's no slides, but when things happen during the week, the slides get pushed to the bottom of the list. Where do you think all these appalling wars and quarrels come from, James says? Do you think they just happen? Think again. They come about because of your own way and fight for it deep inside yourselves. You lust for what you don't have and are willing to kill to get it. You want what isn't yours and you'll risk violence to get your hands on it. You wouldn't think of just asking God for it, would you? And why not? Because you know you'd be asking for what you have no right to. You're spoiled little children, each wanting your own way. Ouch. I think James just called me out. I don't know if he called you out, but he called me out there. Makes me think about how I approach life. And when I do complain about something, I say maybe, but maybe's not the right word. I need to step back and say, okay, God's got this. Whatever I thought was best for me probably wasn't best for me, so he's going to use this situation, and he's going to get me where he wants me. Is it going to hurt? Is it going to be a struggle? Yep. Am I going to be comfortable all the time? Nope. Do I need to keep following him? Yep. Yeah. So, application to us. If I can follow Jesus and still have this struggle, how do I deal with it? If me coming to know Christ isn't going to take away my earnest desire to complain and whine and grumble, what can I do to help it? Jonah, I'm glad you asked. Thank you. Now I got to come up with something. What do we do to deal with this? Number one, I want you to realize complaining is dangerous. Complaining is dangerous. Now, the situation I told you about a few moments ago, I could have completely blown that situation up. But if I would have done that, the people that I'm around and the people that I work with and the people I'm interacting with in that situation would look at me differently. And I would become known as that kid that whines and complains when he doesn't get what he wants. It would hurt my witness. It would hurt my integrity and who I am. Realize complaining is dangerous. You know what? Maybe some of the things you're complaining about are the things the devil is just kind of putting out there and saying, hey, isn't this awful in your life? And then you run down that trail and you chase after it and you're like, yeah, that's not right. Maybe the devil's got you right where he wants you. He's described as one that's lurking and trying to find a way to make us fall, to trip us up, to pounce on us. Perhaps we need to realize how dangerous complaining is. So what do we do with that? I think we have to think about what we say and how we say it and who we say it to. There's a difference between venting and a difference between just complaining about everything. Sometimes you just need to talk about it to get it out of your head, but you need to be with somebody that's not going to take it and run with it and make it even worse. You need to have that person that just listens, and that's all they're going to do is listen, let you get it out, and move on. So realize complaining is dangerous. Second, God knows what he is doing. God knows what he's doing. This one's tough for me because I, again, feel like I know what's best for me. God knows what he's doing. You can't figure this out, but he's going to. Complaining about it's not going to do any good because you're not in control of it anyway. He is. Number 3. Put away past complaints that have become bitterness. Past complaints that become bitterness. This one affects our relationships all the time. Because it's really easy to take something that you were hurt or irritated by somebody about and just hold on to it. With white knuckles and never let go. And every time you get in an argument with that person or a frustration with that person, you'll just go, you know, Jared, remember when you did this to me? And you have that power over him because you know right away he's just going to melt or she's going to melt. Even though you've told them you've gotten over it and you've moved past it, you keep going back to it. Stop bringing things up from the past. That complaint and bitterness can become awful to our souls and our relationships. So what do we do? So what do we do with all of this? The number one thing I think is to do what Paul told the Thessalonican church in 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all things. Give thanks in all things. So anytime you're struggling, anytime you're in good times, no matter what the circumstances are, give him thanks. Because if nothing else, you were given today and an opportunity to serve. Give thanks in all situations. Another way to put it, gratitude. Band, if you want to go ahead and come on up. Gratitude. It's about changing our thinking. It's about rewiring how we deal with life. I think when we ultimately want to deal with complaining, it's a change in perspective. Instead of complaining about the people around you or the situation you're in, you're the only one that can do anything about it. So instead of grumbling about it, instead of whining about it, why don't we approach God in prayer? Why don't we praise him for what he's given us? And then see how he's going to work it out. Because I go back to number 2, God knows what he's doing. And he's going to be there for us. Change in perspective. Stop allowing it being our perspective, but be God's perspective. You've heard me talk a lot about getting to work with people in recovery at Shepherd Hill and some of the things that they deal with. And one of the things we try to do when Jeff and I get to spend time with them is redirect their thinking. And there's this question we ask them. And the question is, what's coming out of your mouth? And they say, out of the overflow of the heart comes our words. I think that's really good advice for all of us. What's coming out of your mouth right now? Is it gratefulness? Is it gratitude? Are you praising God no matter what the situation? I've seen the worst of situations when the people are in the middle of it turn out to be a great ministry opportunity. I've seen most awful situations that people go through turn out to making a relationship stronger. I've watched things that people are in the middle of and complain about and think is awful. When they get to the other side, they're like, you know, I know why I went through that now. It totally makes sense. It's a God thing. So let's stop complaining. Realize God has us right where he wants us. He loves us and cares about us. So be grateful. Show gratitude. Right now, I want you to stand with me. I want you to thoroughly search your heart. If there's something right now that you're struggling with that we've talked about this morning, maybe you're that complainer in your family. Maybe you're the complainer at work. Maybe you've got a deep-seated struggle right now with something you're complaining about. There's not a better time than right now to deal with that, to pray about it, to ask for the Lord's help. If you want to come forward this morning for prayer, that's awesome. If you are at that point in your life where you're ready to make Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior, we want to invite you at this time as well.